Many years ago, in a mystical forest somewhere in Russia, a group of hunter-gatherer women are on a mission. They're hauling offerings to appease the forest gods, because, keeping the gods happy is a solid survival strategy. Among them is a boy named Ivan, who clearly doesn't get the memo about sticking with the group. Why? He spots a bird, gets distracted, and decides, "Hey, Mom, you go ahead, I've got birdwatching to do." His mom, probably used to this nonsense, sighs and keeps walking with the others. While the women are busy setting up their forest potluck for the gods, Ivan is off sketching the bird. Turns out, Ivan is quite the artist. But here's the catch, this isn't your ordinary forest. Oh no, this is fairy territory. Magical creatures that look human but aren't are lurking around, probably wondering, what's with all the screaming women and forest snacks? Things escalate when Van Raj, the king of the fairy world, shows up. The women, terrified, screams echo through the forest like it's a horror movie. Ivan, hearing the commotion, rushes to the scene, but it's like a ghost town. No mom, no women, just an empty forest and probably a very confused bird. Fast forward a few years. Ivan grows up, but let's just say he's not exactly following in his family's hunter-gatherer footsteps. His older brother, Hunja, is your classic rugged hunter type, and his sister, Lucy, communicates in sign language because, plot twist, she's mute. Every day, they drag Ivan into the forest for hunting lessons. But Ivan's more into drawing animals than, shooting them. One day, Lucy spots a deer and signals Ivan to take the shot. Ivan? He's too busy noticing a mysterious girl from the fairy world peeking out from behind a tree. Naturally, he gets distracted, trips over his own bough, and creates enough noise to send the deer running for its life. The fairy girl? Poof, gone. Hunja, predictably furious, gives Ivan an earful, "You're hopeless. I'm telling Dad you ruined the hunt, again." Lucy, the peacekeeper, signs, "Give him time, he'll learn." But Hunja isn't buying it. Learn? When? In the next century? Back at home, Ivan retreats to his room, sketches the fairy girl he saw, and stuffs the drawing into his chest. That's when he finds a strange, old book filled with illustrations and info on magical creatures. While flipping through it, something bizarre happens. A mystical light shoots out of the book, hits Ivan, and leaves a glowing mark on his wrist. Ivan, out cold. When he wakes up, Lucy finds him, signing, "What are you reading all alone in here?" Ivan, still dazed, probably wonders the same thing. Ivan sat cross-legged on the floor of his small, dimly lit room, the mysterious book open in his lap. His fingers traced the intricate illustrations of creatures from the fairy world, each more fantastical than the last. His sister, Lucy, entered silently, her sharp eyes catching the strange book. "Where did you get that?" Her expression seemed to say. "I found it here at home," Ivan explained, flipping another page. "It was in my chest, but I've never seen it before. It's incredible. It has information about every creature in the fairy world." Lucy leaned over, glanced at the book, and made a face. Through quick, dismissive signs, she replied, "Nonsense." Then, without a second thought, she tossed the book aside. At that very moment, their older brother, Hunja, strode in, his presence filling the room with a commanding air. He noticed the discarded book and picked it up. As he opened it, his eyes landed on a detailed illustration of King Van Raj of the fairy world. This is important," Hunja declared, his voice tinged with excitement. "I need to show this to Dad. It might have information he can use." The scene shifted to their father, Ragan, a towering figure with a permanent scowl etched onto his face. He stood over a trembling man named Colin, gripping a spear tightly. With a voice as sharp as the weapon in his hand, Ragan growled, "Don't interfere in my affairs again." A single strike sent Colin fleeing, leaving Ragan alone with his menacing thoughts. Hunja approached, book in hand. "Father," he began, "look at this." Ivan had it. It's filled with knowledge about the fairy world's creatures. Ragan's cold eyes narrowed as he took the book. "Where did you get this?" he demanded, turning to Ivan. "I don't know how it got into my chest," Ivan admitted hesitantly, "but I think this book might help us find Mother. Maybe she's still alive in the forest." Ragan cut him off with a dismissive wave. "If she were alive, she'd have returned by now. Van Raj killed her long ago. But this book says otherwise." Ivan pressed. "It says all creatures from the fairy world fear silver, salt, and the tassi plant. If they touch them, they disintegrate into gold dust." At the mention of gold dust, Ragan's hardened expression softened into a twisted smile. "Gold dust, you say? Then we'll hunt these creatures. From this day forward, they're ours to conquer." Ivan's stomach churned as his father's greed infected Hunja and even Lucy. While he wanted to stop them, their resolve left no room for argument. The family quickly prepared for their hunt, crafting necklaces of silver coins and tassy leaves and mixing salt powder with the plant for good measure. The next morning, the siblings ventured into the forest, their father's orders ringing in their ears. Ivan trailed behind reluctantly, gripping the book tightly. His heart wasn't in this mission. He couldn't bring himself to harm innocent beings. As they wandered deeper, a soft glow caught their attention. There, in a clearing, stood a magical girl from the fairy world, her delicate features shimmering in the dappled sunlight. The siblings froze, hidden behind a dense thicket. Ivan, curious and apprehensive, flipped through the book. His heart skipped a beat when he found her page. She was a princess of the serpent lineage. A rare and powerful creature. Lucy, ever the strategist, plucked a garlic-laden necklace from their supplies. With a quick, silent motion, she hurled it toward the girl. The necklace landed at the princess's feet. The girl, intrigued, bent down and picked it up. But the moment the garlic scent reached her, her graceful posture wavered. She clutched her head, visibly dizzy, as the siblings watched from the shadows, their next move uncertain. The three brothers confront the magical girl, and as soon as she sees them, she attempts to flee. They pursue her relentlessly, with Hunja throwing a stone lasso that ensnares her feet, causing her to fall. Desperate to escape, the girl transforms into a snake, but Lucy swiftly captures her, forcing her back into her human form. They take her to their home, where she pleads for mercy, insisting, "I have never harmed anyone." Ragan, unmoved by her words, retorts coldly, "I will avenge my wife's death with your people." The snake girl tries to reason with him. "Our people have never harmed anyone. We don't even know what happened to your wife," she says, her voice trembling. But Ragan, blinded by vengeance, refuses to listen. He orders Ivan to place a necklace made of silver coins and tassy leaves around her neck. Ivan hesitates, his heart heavy, but under the weight of his father's command, he finally complies. The moment the necklace touches her, the girl writhes in excruciating pain before disintegrating into shimmering gold dust. Ragan greedily collects the dust into a bag, his eyes gleaming with satisfaction. "In a few days, we'll be the richest family alive," he declares to Lucy, his tone dripping with greed. Outside, Ivan works with an axe, chopping wood in silent anguish. The image of the girl's tear-streaked face and her agonized screams replay endlessly in his mind. The mysterious mark on his wrist throbs painfully, a physical manifestation of his guilt and torment. Seeking answers, he visits a sorceress in a secluded part of the forest. Examining his wrist, the sorceress delivers grim news. "This mark is connected to the fairy world. I don't know much about it, but the symptoms suggest you don't have much time left. You're dying, and I have no cure. My medicine can only ease your pain." Ivan drinks the potion, though it does little to ease the ache in his heart. Meanwhile, Hunja and Lucy continue their father's cruel mission, hunting magical creatures daily and collecting their gold dust. One afternoon, as Ivan sketches outside, Hunja storms over, snatching the magical book from his hands. At that moment, a dragon soars overhead, its majestic form casting a shadow over the land. Excited, Hunja flips through the book until he finds the dragon's illustration. A wicked grin spreads across his face as he tears out the page. To everyone's astonishment, the dragon lets out a roar before disintegrating into gold dust that rains down from the sky. Ragan arrives just as the dust settles, his greedy mind whirring. "What did you do?" he demands. Hunja, proud of his discovery, replies, "Father, this book has special powers. If we tear out its pages, the magical creatures disappear, just like the dragon did." Ragan's calculating expression hardens. "But if they vanish like that, how will we collect their gold dust?" "No, we must kill them in person to gather the dust properly." Unseen by the family, a man named Colin watches everything unfold from the shadows. His expression is grim, and it's clear he knows more about the situation than he's letting on. Not long after, Lucy captures another girl from the fairy world in the forest. The same captivating girl Ivan once saw hiding behind the trees. Lucy informs her father and brother, "This girl was watching our house." Ragan, without hesitation, orders, "Kill her too and turn her into dust." Ivan, unable to bear the thought, pleads with his father. "You've already killed so many magical creatures. Please, let this one go." Ragan's face twists with anger. "Are you asking me to show mercy to our enemies? These creatures killed your mother. Ivan counters, no one knows what really happened to Mom. You can't keep killing innocent beings based on suspicion. Ragan, now furious, accuses Ivan of siding with the enemy. Get out of my sight and do your job. That night, Ivan sneaks into the room where the girl is tied up, carrying a torch. He asks her, "Who are you, and why were you watching our house?" The girl introduces herself. "My name is Diva. I am the daughter of King Vanraj of the fairy world. I wasn't watching your house. I was watching you. I sensed a strange magic within you." Hearing this, Ivan shows her the mark on his wrist. Diva looks at it gravely and says, "This is the magic of our world. When a human is marked with it, they die within 7 days." Ivan's heart sinks. "It's been 5 days. Does that mean I only have 2 left?" "Yes," Diva confirms. "The book you have is the most important artifact in our world." "Where did you get it?" Ivan shakes his head. "I don't know, it just appeared in my house." Diva meets his eyes and says, "If you free me, I can help you." Ivan hesitates. "Why should I trust you?" Diva replies, "Because in 2 days, you'll be dead. You don't have time not to trust me." Moved by her words, Ivan decides to set her free. "How can you help me?" he asks. Diva explains, "I'll take you north to a mysterious forest where the goddess of the forest lives. She might be able to remove the magic from within you." Determined, Ivan frees her, and together they set off into the forest, heading north. By morning, Hunja informs Ragan of Ivan's escape. He's gone with the girl, and they've taken the book. Enraged, Ragan orders, "Take Lucy and find them at all costs." At that moment, King Vanraj himself appears before Ragan. "My daughter was in your custody," he says sternly. "You've already killed so many of my people. Don't push your luck." Ragan, unyielding, retorts, "You killed my wife. We're just taking our revenge." Before Vanraj can respond, Lucy hurls a necklace at him, attempting to attack. But Vanraj vanishes in an instant, reappearing deep within the forest. There, he summons the forest guardians and commands them, "Find my daughter, Diva." In the next scene, Ivan and Diva are seen walking along a forest path when, out of nowhere, a dark figure emerges and strikes Ivan on the shoulder with a cane, causing him to stumble. Diva quickly intervenes, stopping the man. "He's with me," she says firmly. Ivan, rubbing his shoulder, demands, "Who are you, and why did you attack me?" Diva explains, "This is the guardian of the fairy world's border." Ivan scoffs, "You're all the same." The guardian denies the accusation, replying, "We have rules. We don't use our powers to harm humans without reason." Diva turns to the guardian, saying, "There used to be a path to the goddess of the forest near here, but it's gone, and the forest looks different now. I need to take him to the goddess." The guardian frowns. "When this human's relatives began hunting our people, we created an invisible magical wall to keep humans out of this part of the forest. Why do you want to take him into our territory? He and his family are murderers of our kind." Diva defends Ivan. "He's not like the others in his family. Let the goddess of the forest decide if he deserves help." After some hesitation, the guardian recites a spell. The invisible barrier dissolves, revealing a lush, magical forest brimming with vibrant greenery. Ivan and Diva press forward, continuing their journey. In the following scene, the market in Ragan's village is shown. Villagers greet Ragan with admiration, believing he is protecting them by hunting supernatural creatures. At the blacksmith's forge, Ragan demands special weapons. The blacksmith refuses, saying, "I won't support your wicked deeds." Ragan counters, "Killing supernatural creatures isn't evil. I'm doing this for everyone's safety. Those creatures are dangerous." The blacksmith shakes his head. "There was no enmity between humans and those creatures. They never harmed us, and we never harmed them, until you started this slaughter. Now you've turned them into our enemies. Our daughters and wives are too afraid to enter the forest. Your actions have brought suffering to us all, and no one even knows what really happened to your wife." In the next scene, Ivan and Diva find themselves deep within the enchanting fairy forest. After walking for a while, Diva pauses to speak with 2 children from her world, while Ivan continues ahead. Suddenly, 2 magical-looking young men confront him, seizing him by the arms. "What are you doing in our world?" one demands. "Your family has killed many of our people. You'll pay for it today." Just as they're about to drag Ivan away, Diva intervenes. Recognizing her, the young men release their grip, though they remain wary. "Why did you bring a murderer here?" they ask. "He's not like the rest of his family," Diva explains. "He freed me, and I've brought him to meet the goddess of the forest." Diva calls out to the goddess, her voice echoing through the forest. Slowly, figures begin to emerge from behind the trees, residents of the fairy world. Finally, the goddess of the forest manifests, her presence commanding and ethereal. "Why have you brought a member of the family that has slaughtered my people?" the goddess asks sternly. Diva pleads on Ivan's behalf. "He saved my life, and somehow, the book of our people came into his possession. Now, a deadly magic is consuming him from within. I've brought him here in the hope you could help him." The goddess's expression remains unforgiving. "He should suffer the consequences for his family's actions. But I will test him in the circle of power to determine if he's committed any crimes against my people. If he is guilty, he will die." Diva protests, but the goddess is resolute. She orders the young men to escort Ivan to the testing stone. The beings of the forest gather, forming a circle around Ivan as the ritual begins. To everyone's astonishment, Ivan emerges unscathed. The goddess steps forward, visibly surprised. "The book has chosen you as the new protector of the fairy world. How is this possible? You're human, and part of the very family that has wronged us." Confused, Ivan asks, "What does all of this mean?" The goddess explains, "The magic within you is extraordinary. The book has chosen you as its guardian, and the mark on your hand is proof. You now have a choice: accept the magic, become the protector of our world, and gain immortality. But doing so means leaving behind your family, friends, and your old life. Your sole purpose will be to protect this world and the book. If you refuse, the magic will consume you, and you will die in 2 days." Overwhelmed and disheartened, Ivan begins to walk away. Diva follows him, catching up as he stops in a quiet meadow. "My journey here was pointless," Ivan says, his voice heavy with despair. "You should go back. There's no reason for you to stay." Diva suggests, "Why don't you accept the magic and become the protector?" Ivan shakes his head. "I don't want to be like you. You kidnapped my mother." Diva reassures him, "Believe me, your mother isn't with us. But there's another way to free you from the magic. We must find the goddess of destiny and the goddess of fortune." Ivan asks, "How do we find them?" Diva takes off her pendant and calls upon a friend, asking for his pendant to summon guides who can lead them to the goddesses. Out of loyalty, the friend gives her the pendant but warns, to reach the goddesses, you'll need to lull the guardian at the door to sleep. For that, you'll require the tears of a mermaid. With that, the friend departs. Diva combines the 2 pendants and throws them on the ground. 2 children appear as guides. Together, Ivan and Diva embark on the journey, during which they begin to fall in love. They traverse challenging paths through forests and rivers until they arrive at a mermaid pond, where they find 2 mermaids resting. The guides explain, mermaids don't cry unless they laugh. There are many things in the book you carry that could amuse them. Hearing this, Ivan hands the book to Diva. She, along with the guides, approaches the mermaids and begins reading a humorous poem from the book. The mermaids laugh, shedding tears that the guides carefully collect in a small jar. They return the book and the jar to Ivan, warning, these tears have transformed into divine salt. But it could endanger Diva and other magical creatures. Use it with caution. They continue their journey and eventually arrive at a mountain deep within the forest. Meanwhile, Lucy and Hunja search for Ivan and Diva. With the border guardian temporarily lowering the invisible barrier, they manage to enter the magical forest. Along the way, Lucy finds a strand of Diva's hair and Ivan's footprints. Following these clues, they move deeper into the forest. On the other side, Ivan and Diva, guided by the children, traverse treacherous mountain paths until they reach a mustard field. Exhausted, they stop to rest. While the guides play, Ivan and Diva share a tender moment, confessing their love. Diva weaves a crown of mustard flowers and places it on Ivan's head. Just as they lean in for a kiss, Lucy and Hunja appear. Hunja angrily accuses Ivan, "You're a traitor. You're with the daughter of our enemy, and you have the book. Her father killed our mother." Ivan counters, "Diva is not our enemy." Diva adds, "My father has never harmed any human." Hunja refuses to believe her and tries to take Diva away by force. Ivan intervenes, attempting to stop him. Diva uses her powers to push Lucy aside, grabs Ivan's hand, and the 2 flee into the forest. As they run, they encounter the forest guardian, sent by the fairy king to find his daughter. The guardian orders Diva to leave Ivan and attacks him. Soon, other guardians emerge from the ground, surrounding Ivan and launching an assault. During the fight, Diva tries to help, but the guards capture her. As the battle rages on, magic begins to flow within Ivan, enhancing his strength to fight the guardian. Diva faces off with the other guards. Just then, Hunja and Lucy arrive, and some guards engage with them. The chief of the guards uses his magic staff to throw Ivan to the ground, knocking him unconscious. The jar containing the mermaid tears falls from Ivan's bag, and Diva tries to wake him. Lucy finds the jar and, seeing the divine salt, throws it at the guards to protect Diva. Ivan quickly shields Diva, preventing the salt from touching her. The salt turns the guards to ashes, except for the chief, who manages to escape. Taking advantage of the distraction, Hunja attacks Ivan from behind, trying to capture Diva with Lucy. However, Diva uses her powers to throw them to the ground and returns to Ivan's side, creating an invisible barrier that prevents Hunja and Lucy from getting close. The next day, Ivan, Diva, and the guides rest by a pond. Ivan admits that he feels responsible for the situation and doesn't want Diva to constantly be in danger. He asks her to return home while he continues his journey with the guides. Diva, despite her love for him, reluctantly agrees and leaves. When she returns to the mustard field to collect the crown she had made, Hunja and Lucy capture her, using garlic to incapacitate her, preventing Diva from defending herself. Meanwhile, Ivan, unaware of what's happening, continues his journey with the guides to find the goddesses. They reach a green field, where the guides inform Ivan that the secret path to the goddesses of luck and misfortune is guarded by a massive monster. Two brothers who had also tried to reach the goddesses were turned to stone by the monster. The guide suggests Ivan use the mermaid tears. Ivan throws the salt at the monster's nose, causing it to fall asleep and opening a magical portal. Ivan enters the portal and stands before the goddesses. He asks them to free him from his fate as the guardian, but the goddess of luck tells him it's impossible. The goddess of misfortune warns that destroying the book would eliminate all magical creatures, violating the laws of nature. The goddesses explain that everything depends on Ivan's actions, and they will weave the threads of his destiny based on what he chooses. The book sustains the fairy world, and for centuries, a chosen guardian has been responsible for protecting it and documenting magical creatures. If a page is damaged, it must be repaired, and new pages added, as the lives of the creatures depend on it. If Ivan accepts being the guardian, he will become immortal, but he must leave his family and old life behind. In the next scene, Diva is trapped by Hunja, Lucy, and Reagan. They surround her with silver coins and magic ropes, preventing her escape. At that moment, the goddesses send Ivan to the scene. Ivan pleads with his father to free Diva, but Reagan calls him a traitor and orders Lucy to put the necklace on Diva to kill her. The king of the forest and the chief of the guards arrive, trying to rescue Diva, but they are unable to cross the magic ropes or use their magic inside the circle. Reagan taunts them, claiming to know their weaknesses and threatening to kill Diva in revenge. Ivan, desperate, pushes his father away, but Hunja begins to strangle him. The king of the forest and the guards try to break the barrier, but their magic doesn't work. Before Ivan can break free, Lucy places the necklace on Diva, killing her. The king of the forest and Ivan cry out in pain. The king leaves, vowing revenge, while Ivan, heartbroken, decides to become the guardian in order to bring Diva back to life. Now a guardian, Ivan recites a spell from the book and returns his father to his childhood, hoping he will grow up to be a better person. Ivan then finds the page in the book where he had drawn Diva and, at that moment, Koshi appears, asking Ivan to write in the book that he is an immortal being. In exchange, Koshi promises to tell Ivan where his mother is. Koshi reveals he had stolen the book but wasn't chosen as the guardian, so he kept it for himself. Now, he wants Ivan to make him immortal. Ivan refuses, but Koshi threatens to destroy the book's pages, which would end all magical creatures. Koshi tears out a page to prove his intentions. To save his mother, Ivan gives in and writes that Koshi is immortal. Koshi is transformed and tells Ivan where his mother is before leaving, promising they will meet again. Aware of the danger Koshi represents, Ivan adds a line to the book linking Koshi's life to a secret needle. If the needle breaks, Koshi will die. Finally, Ivan places the page with Diva's drawing back in the book and recites a spell, bringing her back to life. Overjoyed, Ivan and Diva continue their journey to find Ivan's mother. This marks the end of the first part of the fantasy story. That's a wrap for today's recap. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the breakdown, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more movie recaps. Let me know in the comments what movie you want me to cover next. Until next time, stay tuned.